This is week 9 of the game view. We're going to take a look at the Packer game against the Carolina Panthers. This was a disaster for the Packers. They played poorly on both sides of the ball. This is a continuing trend for the Packers that they're going to need to reverse. Right now, they seem to be blaming it on the quality of their opponents. But starting this weekend against the Lions, we will see about that. Now, this is the first drive for the Carolina Panthers. This drive was very easy for the Panthers. It basically was just Cam Newton running the football down the field against the Packer defense. This drive was somewhat reminiscent of the playoff game against the 49ers, where Colin Kaepernick just pretty much tore up the Packer defense by running the football. In that game, Dom Capers seemed convinced that he could contain Kaepernick by just rushing 4 guys and not spying him. And this drive seemed similar. It's that where the Packers were just rushing 4 guys, dropping back into coverage, and not providing any sort of spy for Cam Newton. Now, after the game, Dom Capers, when asked about spying Newton, said the defense did a variety of things. Well, yeah, I have a simpler answer. It's called you actually didn't do anything. You didn't spy Cam Newton during the game. Essentially, what the Packers did was after this drive, the Packers started blitzing 5 and 6 guys on a regular basis, and that pretty much accounted to keep Cam Newton in the pocket. Now, what we're going to see on this play is that the slot receiver, once he gets settled down here, Jericho Crotchery, is going to come across the field. That is going to hold Clay Matthews here as he's going to jump in front. Nate Palmer is in man-to-man, one-on-one coverage with the running back here, Jonathan Stewart, so he is going to go out in the flat with him. So when Clay Matthews decides to cut off this crossing route for Crotchery, this opens up a huge running lane for Cam Newton as he's easily going to run through the Packer defensive line, especially the guys in the middle here, B.J. Raji and Mike Daniels. They both decide to take opposite swim moves around their guys, and thus opening up a huge running lane for Newton. Now, you could defend the defense here, the scheme-wise, and say, well, maybe Matthews was supposed to be spying on Newton. However, if Matthews would have spied Newton and stayed in the middle of the field on this play, then this crossing route to Crotchery was wide open, and Newton could easily just dump that, and that probably would have gotten 15 yards or so itself. Instead, the Panthers get an even bigger play here as Newton takes off up the field. At this point, you can see he's pretty much got nothing between him and pay dirt. He's got to be loving this play at this point, and he is going to go almost untouched. He's going to go untouched about the 10-yard line. That is a 20-yard gain for Cam Newton, and that is like taking candy from a baby, the baby being the Packer defense at this point. All right, I think we can make a good argument that this 3rd and 16 is actually the turning point of the game. It is a 7-3 Packer lead at this point. We're only in the second quarter. However, the Packers had just driven for a touchdown, a good-looking offensive drive for them, and they should get off the field here. It's 3rd and 16. They get a quick 3-and-out here for the Panthers, give it back to the offense. We could be looking at a totally different game. The Packers are showing the kind of defense that they should be playing, which is a 2-deep defense with both Burnett and HaHa back, each taking half the field. With it being 3rd and 16, that would make sense. You blitz your 4, you let everybody else cover. You're probably going to be able to get out of this down no problem. Instead, Dom Capers decides to go into his bag of tricks and to throw a trick coverage at the Panthers, and this blows up in the Packers' face. Morgan Burnett, instead of playing the 2 deep, he is going to come up and play an intermediate zone. The Packers are dropping into what I would say is a 1-4-3 defense. This is showing basically the same as a 3-deep look on the back end. You see Demarius Randall is going to take deep flat. Goodson is going to take this deep flat, and HaHa Clinton Dix is going to switch over to deep middle. Julius Peppers is dropping back into the short zone. Why? I have no idea. Just to be cool, I guess. But here's a trick for you. The Panthers, they decided to keep Greg Olsen in to block. With that being the case, the Panthers now have 6 blockers. They'll go against only 3 rushers for the Packers. That is going to give the Panthers, plenty of time to watch this zone unravel. So here you can clearly see the 1-4-3 defense. Here's Peppers in the short zone, 4 intermediate defenders, and here's the 3 deep. But already right here, everything looks fine. But if we just push this just another second forward, things are starting to break down. And specifically what is happening is Clinton Dix has now turned his back to Cam Newton. He's no longer watching Cam Newton. Instead, he is going to charge downfield to make sure that he is deep man on this deep play. However, if he is in a 3 deep zone here, then he should be worried about the deep middle of the field and not worried about Randall's coverage on the deep flat. Especially when Newton starts running out to his right, that is going to make a pass to this side of the field very difficult, if not impossible. If Clinton Dix was watching Newton, he would have known that. Instead, he had taken his eyes off him. Now he finally turns around. He can see Newton is about throwing the ball, but now it's too late. As Jericho Crotchy is coming across the field, Crotchy is wide open. That is an easy pitch and catch for a huge gain. Clinton Dix is way out of position. That is a poor attempt to tackle by Morgan Burnett. I guess he's still injured because he does not show good hustle at all this play. Micah Hyde ran right by Burnett, got in on that tackle. That is a very good hustle play by Micah Hyde, but disastrous defensive scheme there, defensive call by Dom Capers, and a poor decision, poor execution by Clinton Dix led to a huge play for the Panthers that helped turn this game around and started the Panthers out to really beating up on the Packers. Next possession. Big key for the Panthers and the Packers in the first half of this game was big plays by the Panthers. The Panthers would score 3 touchdowns in the first half. All 3 touchdowns would come after big plays that their offense made. This is the very first play of their next possession. They have a 10-7 lead at this point. Packers are kind of doing their normal. They're showing a cover 2, but they're not in cover 2. Burnett is going to go ahead and walk towards the line of scrimmage. That is understandable considering that the Panthers are in a bunch, a strong power formation set here, showing that they might very well run the ball. And basically this is going to be a bad play by Clinton Dix. For one thing, because they started out in the fake 2-deep look, he is cheating to this side of the field. The actual middle of the field where the ball was snapped was the right hash. And so should be sliding in this direction to get himself in the middle of the field. He never does that. He also sits on this Greg Olsen square in, even though the Packers linebackers did a good job of getting back in coverage, and so there's all sorts of defenders here. The Packers basically have Olsen triangulated here. There's no reason for to be cheating on this route. He should be worried about Funchess over the top. He is not. He stays way too... Here he's actually even come to a stop on this side of the field. That is a big mistake, and Newton sees that, is going to immediately take the shot deep. Another big thing that we saw in this game is something that I've harped on the last couple weeks, and that is the fact that the Panthers, when they had one-on-one chances, they took their shots deep. They showed that, yeah, guys may be covered, but if you throw it out there, a perfect pass can beat good coverage, receiver could make a play, or you could get an interference call, which would be a big play. So when you have those shots over the top, one-on-one, you have to take those shots. The Panthers did it. It paid huge dividends for them. So here is the pass deep. This is actually very good coverage by Demarius Randall, but that ball just drops right in there, perfectly thrown. Good catch by Funchess. The only person who could have possibly stopped that play was Clinton Dix, and he was out of position, period. All right, first drive of the second half for the Packers. In just 3 plays, they're going to score a touchdown here, which does kind of put them back in this game. That makes it only a 13-point game with basically almost the entire second half still to play. I wouldn't get too excited about the comeback in the second half for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers did kind of heat up a little bit. The offense did make some plays, and maybe that's something that can carry over to future weeks. However, as you kind of see here in the still, Panthers did loosen up on defense. They played a lot more 2 deep. Here they're not going to blitz. They're not as tight on the line as they were earlier in the game. And when the Panthers really felt like they needed a stop, they just went right back to the 1 safety deep and the tight underneath coverage that worked for them early in the game, and it worked for the most part. So the Packers were able to make some plays against some looser coverage. Not a huge surprise there, but that's not something to be overly surprised about. Here they're going to fake the out and up. They're going to do the out and up, to Randall Cobb. And this is a pass that we have seen in the past. Aaron Rodgers will throw even when Cobb is covered. He throws this one. He actually throws a perfect pass this time and ends up going for a touchdown. As we see here, Rodgers could have taken the slant to Davante Adams. It is open as well. However, that's fine to throw the ball downfield to Cobb here as long as it's a perfect pass like that. Great job by Cobb to fight off the tackling attempts, get up the sideline and score a touchdown. And again, this would briefly bring the Packers back into this game. All right, after Randall Cobb's touchdown, the Packer defense got a 3-and-out, did their job, got the ball back to the Packer offense. Packer offense quickly moved back onto the Panthers side of the field. They can get a score here. They're back right in this game. They could even get it down to a one-score game with a lot of the second half still to play. This is 3rd and 8. As we're going to see, Aaron Rodgers after the game, talking about the final play of the game, would say that something happened, or at least the final play offensively for the Packers, something happened that spooked him, and he didn't know what it was. Now, you'll see that something similar happens on this play, which is really a shame for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers would really have a mixed bag this game. He would have some A plays, some plays which were absolutely great for him. However, he also had a fair number of just really bad plays. So kind of a straight, just a C performance for Rodgers with some A plays mixed with some F plays. This is going to be an F play, unfortunately, on a 3rd down. What we're going to see happen here is the Panthers are going to blitz. They are going to once again send 6 guys, a common thing that they did in this game on 3rd down. The Packers once again have 6 guys to block with James Starks in the backfield. Starks is going to do a good job here, and the Packers actually are going to pick up this blitz just fine. So we see Starks step up. Starks picks up, and Rodgers does have a pocket here to throw the ball from. But for whatever reason, Rodgers is spooked. He doesn't think he has any kind of time. He's just going to throw this out to Richard Rodgers, who's not open. If Aaron would have just held this ball for another moment, he would see that Randall Cobb's guy actually stumbled, and Cobb is going to break open down the right side of the field here. There goes Cobb. Cobb is now getting open. Rodgers could already be throwing him the ball, leading him on the pass. Instead, thinking, I guess, that he's about to get sacked, Rodgers just goes ahead and basically throws this ball away. As you turn your attention here to the other side of the field, and you will unfortunately see Randall Cobb separating. Randall Cobb probably has a touchdown if Aaron Rodgers would have looked that way and thrown to that side of the field. For some reason, it took until the 4th quarter for the Packers to realize something on offense, and that was that when the Panthers lined up for this A-gap blitz with both their linebackers across from Linsley, which really seemed to throw Linsley off his game, what the Packers could do to attack it was to simply just slip Starks out of the backfield and dump him the ball. With both the linebackers now out of the play since they're blitzing, this led to some big plays for James Starks. This is something that the Packers could have done from the very beginning of the game, really would have slowed down these A-gap blitzes for the Panthers. Here we can see this is actually the second slip blitz and slip screen of the game, the Starks. This is actually a great play by Aaron Rodgers. It's probably about as good of a play by a quarterback on a simple screen pass as you'll ever see. As the blitz got right to Rodgers, he waited for about as long as he possibly could, and then he lofted the ball just over the defender's head and gets it into Starks here. Once Starks has that ball, now since both their linebackers, at least Kuechly, is out of the play, this is the Panthers are now defensively in deep crap. Starks takes off upfield, and then this is just good, hard running by James Starks like you expect. Fantastic effort to get into the end zone. Great effort by James Starks this whole game. We'll even take another quick look from the backside here just so, again, you can see Aaron Rodgers' effort to loft that out there. Great play. And that sets up the touchdown. And then there goes James Starks. All right, before we quickly get to the last play, I want to talk a little bit about this 3rd down play with the game on the line here for the Packers. There is 2 minutes and 23 seconds with the clock stopped at this point. So the Packers should have enough time for 2 plays. You get in the end zone and have a chance to tie the game, or if you don't, you turn it over. You have the 2-minute warning. You have 1 timeout left. You should get the ball. You have a high possibility chance of getting the ball back and having a second shot at it. Yes, with less time, but still probably enough time to give yourself a fairly decent shot. So this is an absolutely disastrous play here by Aaron Rodgers that's not talked about enough. Uh, for one thing, you could throw the ball to Devontae Adams here. Not sure why not. Um, but if you're not going to, that's fine. You may want to make sure to get in the end zone. Here, when Rodgers rolls around, rolls out, once he gets free here he should be slowing down. He should be looking to throw the ball. Throw the ball. Stop. Stop. Throw the ball. As you can see here, he's actually got two defenders. They're looking at him. They're not deep in the end zone. This defender is only right on the goal line. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be able to scramble for a touchdown here unless he pulls out something miraculous. He's not going to get a touchdown here. He's got two defenders closing on him. This was a terrible decision to run this ball here. Because he runs out, he does not get there. This ends up running the clock down to the 2-minute warning. And because of that, that puts the Packers in a do-or-die situation on 4th down when they should have had two chances to score to tie this game. All right, and that brings us to this final play of the game. I'm sure you've heard about, seen this play plenty, so really don't have to go over a lot over it. We know here that the Packers are going to be looking for Randall Cobb, who's going to come across the formation. By doing so, he's going to be picked up by a safety, and that is a favorable matchup for the Packers here. Cobb on a safety. Jones is just going to run a slant, essentially run interference, what turns out to be a pick play for the Packers. This, as we know, is going to work beautifully. Aaron Rodgers is looking at it here, there, and you can see that Aaron Rodgers has already changed his mind and decided that this is not going to work for whatever reason. Randall Cobb does, of course, pop open on the pick play. The pick play is not called. Could have been a touchdown there, obviously. Rodgers also has a chance here if he throws a hard pass, accurate pass to Adams. That also might work. Instead, Rodgers decides that that is not a good chance. He wants to scramble a little bit, which still might have had a chance. It was the fact that Corey Linsley, who absolutely played a terrible game here, he gets thrown off balance and gives up the pressure by Short. There, Linsley just gets basically thrown right back. That frees up Short to go right after Rodgers. Rodgers basically just does a desperation heave here, and that is intercepted, and that is going to essentially be game over now for the Packers. That is a big loss for the Packers. They did not play well on either side of the ball, which is probably the most troubling thing. At least if you were playing good on offense or defense, you could concentrate on one or the other. But instead, the Packers have some big problems on both sides of the ball. They think that the Lions coming to town this weekend is going to cure everything. We will see about that. Packers need some major uptick in their play, or they're in trouble of falling out of the lead in this division.